I'm still uploading a reply to Lord Immolation that'll be actually attached to his video. But there's a comment in his video. Let's see, overcoming skepticism by a guy named Kevin Soloway. Hi, Kevin, if you're watching this. He says, one thing I don't like about a lot of philosophical discourse is that it goes on on forever, when it should all be over in a couple of sentences or a few seconds of video. In my view, Pyrrha's position is self-contradictory. Once that is established, and I believe it can be established in a couple of seconds, then that is the end of it. For eternity! That's what draws me to the aphoristic style of Nietzsche, or Zen, which speaks volumes in a single paragraph. Hey, I'm a big fan of Nietzsche too, and I love his statement that he would say in 10 sentences what most philosophers would say in a book. And I do go into condensing my ideas, and I have condensed them quite a bit compared to what I started with. That doesn't mean they're condensed enough for you to understand in a couple seconds, let alone reply to in a couple seconds. But I mean, it's just the total arrogance of this. And I don't mean the arrogance by which he's calling me wrong. No, the arrogance by which the conversation could be settled in a couple of seconds. It's been going on for thousands of years. And you know what? It's not the skeptics that are to blame for this. You guys have changed your views. In the last thousands of years, while you told us you were certain all along, you keep changing your views. The skeptics have changed their views of what's apparent, but never the fundamentals that they need to go by what's apparent, that they need to use evidence. The Pyrrhonistic skeptics, you might want to look that up as opposed to academic skeptics. And so we have arguments here that are going on for thousands and thousands of years, and you think you're just going to sum them up. Well, it's ironic, a couple things about this comment. One, you took a few seconds and you didn't point out how I was self-contradictory. So you had stuff to do before you got to the key few seconds. So there's some of that too. Like maybe it'll take a day of preparing the way so that you can use those couple seconds. The other thing is that I'm well read in Nietzsche. It's funny for you to use Nietzsche in this context, because my view of metaphysics and it being bullshit is you could take the same thing right out of Nietzsche. Okay, it's stunning for you to say that and use Nietzsche as an example when, what does Nietzsche think of Plato? What does Nietzsche think of metaphysics? What does he think of the need to defend how we live based on metaphysics? And I'm not even going to answer that. You've evidently read Nietzsche. So Kevin, this is really a matter of philosophical stamina. The arguments are thousands of years old. I know, thousands of years ago you thought that too. Oh, we don't really have to think about the skeptics. I just dealt with them in a couple seconds. And then a couple thousand years later, you look up and it's like, oh, we're still here. What a surprise. Yeah, and do it again and I'll see you in 1,000 years, I guess. We're not just going to go away because you say, well, it can't be proven, so we just have to assume what I've assumed. Well, you have a low standard. We have a higher standard. We are going to say, no, these things can be justified. You can justify what you believe. And you want to say no. And then you're going to just dismiss this when what am I really arguing for? That everything's empirical, that everything's from the perceptions. And you want to act like, I'm the crazy, that's obviously not true. It's obvious we don't get information from our perceptions, and I mean, that's just obvious. I'll tell you what. Come back, do your demonstration of my self-contradictory statements. Do it. You have 10 seconds.